I'm really looking forward to hearing Barrett's breakdown. Here's a guy who played on the offensive line, but not only did he play on the offensive line, he played all over the offensive line. Guard, tackle, left side, right side.
Wherever you need me, Coach.
Here's my question, okay, Barrett? I haven't heard it asked by anybody. No one's talked about it. I can't figure out why. In the 4 games that Lane Johnson was here, Vaitai was inactive. So how did he go from inactive to the best option? Because what if Johnson got hurt in one of those 4 games? Vaitai wasn't the next man up in that instance. Why all of a sudden did he become the next man up?
This is crazy. First of all, how's it going, guys? I know we've won medals, but it's not the doom and gloom we think, man. It's one of those things where I think he just got a little ahead, and he finally showed a rookie mistake as far as being a head coach. His decision to play Big V was definitely the wrong decision, and at this point, he's dug a hole. He's put himself in a hole, and he's got to stay in that hole and keep starting the kid. It's not the kid's fault. He wasn't ready to play. That's why he wasn't active these past couple of weeks. He shouldn't have been in there, man. And, everybody's saying it's his fault. Well, you got to fault the coach for making that decision. This guy wasn't even ready for preseason. He had an okay preseason, and he was playing against his peers, guys that were barely making a team. So you can't blame it on him in all actuality. You can't blame the fact they left him alone on an island against Kerrigan, who gives Lane Johnson fits. So, there's a lot of finger pointing at him, man, but you guys got to sit back and think. He didn't ask to do that. He was forced into that position. He wasn't ready. He assumed he wasn't ready because he wasn't even addressing. That's why at the end, and you listen to his press conference, he was like, well, I got to work on a lot of stuff. I got a lot of learning to do. That kid doesn't even know the speed of the game yet, let alone how to incorporate those plays playing against a guy like Kerrigan. So, it's, Big V, he had a rough one, and he did what he could, but what he could is just not good enough.
Well, I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with Big V. I'm not pointing the finger at him so much, but my question really is, as you just said, here's a guy who had very little time, very little experience, and yet today Peterson says he's going to play him again because he gives him the best chance to win. But my question goes back to, what if Lane Johnson got hurt in the middle of game 1, 2, or 3, or 4? Big V was not active, so how does he give you the best chance to win if he's not even active in the event that Lane got hurt in one of those games? Because if Johnson got hurt, what were they going to do? Were they going to move Barbary out there? Were they going to play Tobin out there? His whole thing is, well, we don't want to disrupt the line. But you'd be willing to disrupt the line if Johnson got hurt in a game. That's where I scratch my head a bit.
Yeah, me too. Matt Tobin was the next man up. If they did have that opportunity, Matt Tobin would be the guy to play. And it really has me thinking, what the hell is going on with Wisniewski? Is he that bad? Do they dislike him that much? I know he's kind of mad right now, pissed off because he could have went to several other teams and went in and competed for a starting position. Hell, he never even got a chance to be a truly a starter on this team. During that process of them evaluating who's going to play at the guard position, they put in Sam Malo and didn't think twice about it. They wanted Sam Malo in there. So the fact that, he's not even going to get a chance or a sniff at going out there and playing just really leads me to believe they don't have a lot of faith and confidence in that guy. So I don't see how they thought that Big V would be the next man up, that he's the guy that can go out there and play at this level. He's going to have a rough one, especially against the best defense or the second best defense in the league. Griffin's pretty good, and he'll be lined up against him, and it could be basically the same thing. Because I'm going to tell you the truth. Pick your poison. Who are you going to protect the most? You're going to protect Kelce, who's been playing he's been playing. I started to say something. He's been playing terrible this past season, and he didn't play good yesterday. And if you look at it, Baker had a field day in the middle of that offensive line. He beat Brandon Brooks. He beat Kelce. He beat also Barbary. So we're not even talking about the interior of the line who really got shook up a little bit. So, I'm really a little pissed off at Coach saying that that's the best possible way he can go out there. Alan Barbary has spent his entire career at tackle. He just moved to guard these last 2 years being on this Eagles team. He could have been more than efficient to go out there and right tackle. It would have been much for him to do it. He's been a journeyman his whole career. He understands how to go out there and play tackle, and then bring in Wisniewski, who has over 75 starts. That would make the logical decision. That would be the decision I would make. But see, I'm not the head coach. I'm not a coach, so
Well,
I digress.
And it's interesting because now that the team starts 3-0 with a rookie quarterback, all of a sudden I think your train of thought changes a little bit. Like, oh, instead of starting a rookie, we're in this thing. We're 3-0. We're 3-1. We got to go with a veteran guy instead of saying, we're a rebuilding team. Let's get some reps for this rookie. I think your mindset has to change. But you're a guy, Barrett, who played all over the line, left guard, right guard, tackles. You moved probably numerous times in mid-game. Yes, it's probably not easy, but that's a professional's job, right? To be prepared to say, look, we need you to kick out in the middle of this game, or this guy's struggling. We're going to make some changes, Barbary. You got to move. Like, you've done that plenty of times, right? For him to say yesterday that it sets a bad example, I think is preposterous.
It is preposterous. I can't believe he said that. And I played in the game where I played all three positions. I played center, I played left guard, and I played right tackle, all in one game. Albeit it was against the Browns, but that still doesn't make a difference.
The Browns were still bad back then, huh?
Right, yeah, So, but being realistic and really, putting myself in Big V's shoes. I had an opportunity to start as a rookie, but I was prepared like I was going to be a starter, and that's the biggest difference. Coaches known that Lane Johnson was going to be suspended 10 games since the beginning of the season. Since they really, 2 weeks or whatever it was, 2 weeks before they even got into the season, they knew that he was going to be suspended. So why wouldn't you prepare a guy now? Okay, he's saying, well, until then he's going to be my right tackle. That's straight ignorance, and for him to think and be, that he could just plug and play a guy that's a rookie, it's preposterous. You can't think that he was going to go out there. My rookie year, I played every freaking snap of preseason, every single snap at left tackle, every single snap of preseason. And then for the rest of the time, I played every single snap after that at left tackle throughout the season and in the playoffs. So he was not prepared. He wasn't ready to go in there. He wasn't even ready to be dressed. If he was going to be the next man up, he'd have dressed, but, during this time period where Lane Johnson was in. You got a false sense of security. The rookie got a false sense of security on how they were going to call the plays and also how he was going to be protected from his line. Having Lane Johnson in there really didn't make sense to me simply because you can't have a false sense of security and getting this guy thinking that his right side will be protected like that would have got adversely at that point during the season playing very, very well. He was playing at a Pro Bowl level. That's Lane Johnson. At right tackle, he was playing at a Pro Bowl level. And to think that you think that Sam Miles would go in there and give him the same look, he would have the same comfort level, was preposterous. There's no way that he thought that Big V would be ready to play, especially at the level that they're going against now. Kerrigan, it could be anybody in there. It doesn't matter who. Name whoever. You could put anybody out there and go against a rookie right tackle and think that he was going to go in and play after not even being activated throughout the season.
Hey, Barrett, how much is the new CBA rules a factor, not being able to hit and stuff, that they can't get these guys ready to play?
No, it's not. Everybody's going through the same thing. So I don't think that's really an issue. You adapted on how this league and how to play in this league. Coach knows how, things are in this league. You get a certain amount of hours to get stuff done. Everybody's getting the same amount of time. The big thing is they put a guy out there. He hadn't, I doubt seriously they even thought about starting this guy up until a week and a half before Lane was going to get the decision handed down. He wasn't in the books. He wasn't in the cards or being the starting right tackle. Just out of the blue, from out of nowhere, you're going to make this guy a starter. It just didn't make sense to me. It didn't look good. It makes him. It really is going to really hurt Big V's progression as an offensive tackle.
Did they help Vaitai enough? Can they do more there, or do you believe Doug when he said that he thought Vaitai got better as the game went on?
Well, of course he got better, but that doesn't mean that his better is good enough. Everybody's going to get better. He's going to get used to the speed of the game. But it wasn't like Kerrigan did anything that was really comparable to what he saw in practice. I mean, realistically, Kerrigan just bull rushed him. He didn't do any moves. He bull rushed him, went inside, bull rushed him, went outside. It wasn't like he was really doing anything to really say that he was beating him. He just physically outgunned and outmanned Big V. That was the only thing. He bull rushed him, one-hand stab, drove him into the quarterback, and got off and sacked the quarterback. That's all he did. He created pressure by doing the same thing over and over again. So to say he got better, I think that's a farce simply because they really didn't do anything to help him get better. I mean, they didn't leave him on an island after that. You know, he was getting a chip here and a chip there, but you can't get a chip if you're getting pressed back as far as he was getting pressed back. You know, you can't chip as a running back or a tight end if you're just getting bull rushed. I mean, that's the problem right there. He got physically outmanned. And I listened to the press conference. I did the press conference called In the Nest with CSN, and Coach said, well, it was assignment errors. It was mental errors that got him beat. No, he physically got his ass kicked.
Yeah.
Period.
He said that about the team, but he didn't say about the guy individually. Yeah, I watched In the Nest with you and Jillian, and I watch that every Monday. That's must-see TV for me and should be for the rest of Eagles fans out there. You mentioned Wisniewski and you mentioned Kelce, BB, and one of the things that Doug said, he was asked about Kelce, and he listed him on the injury report, and then they said if that's the case, and he said Wisniewski will take the snaps. Is that going to be his safety valve? Is Doug going to use that as his excuse or his safety valve of, well, Kelce's banged up, so now we have to start Wisniewski, we'll stick him in there?
Well, whatever it takes. Kelce played bad this last game. Baker really beat him up. Pressed him into quarterback. He had numerous holding calls against him and penalties, from his play. I mean, whether it's run blocking or pass blocking, he just doesn't have a left lead in his butt to, keep guys at bay. Bigger tackles, bigger noses will push Kelce around. It's just the laws of physics. The laws of physics have, when you got an immovable object and hit something like Kelce, he's just going to be, overpowered, period, point blank. As smart as Kelce is, he's kind of system specific. He's a guy that can get out and run, block second-level linebackers. But when you line a big guy up on him, he's just too light in the butt to take it. Period, point blank, no other way around it. He's not as strong as a guy like Stepniewski, who played for Dallas all those years. He was a wrestler. He understood how to put his body in position that he could use leverage. He could use strength. He's one of the strongest players on the team. It's a total different mindset that you have when you're a guy like Stepniewski. And I don't think that Kelce has that same mindset. Kelce's a guy that uses his athletic talent to play the game. He can't do it with this type of system. This is a, going downhill zone system, hit you in the mouth, press the line of scrimmage, and he's not that type of guy. He does well in systems where you're pulling guys onto the corner, getting them out to the second level. That's the type of blocker he is.
Barrett Brooks is with us, Eagles pre- and post-game live on Comcast Sportsnet before and after every Eagles game, every weekday morning, 7 to 9 on Breakfast on Broad on the Comcast Network.
You can hear him sing Ed Sheeran on Breakfast on Broad, unless they cut him off. Make him let you sing, Barrett. I mean, come on.
I keep telling them that, man. They just don't know what a gold mine they have, man. But until then, they just take the mic. They just drop my mic, man.
By the way, Vaitai allowed 2 sacks, 2 hurries, and 1 quarterback hit in 29 pass plays. So that was the day for him. But I want to flip over to defense because, a couple of years ago when they had the Washburn wide 9, it seemed like some weeks you were praising the defense looks great. And then other weeks you were like, oh, my gosh, you can't stop the run. And when this team's in the lead, this defense is great. But when you're playing from behind, this defense struggles. It seems that it's the same formula. These guys can't make the adjustments when they're playing from behind.
Well, and that's exactly what goes in. If you're not playing from behind and that team's not passing, you're hard-pressed to stop the run. There is just too much real estate in between those wide nines and the tackle and nose when you run that type of system. You're asking a linebacker to cover too much real estate in between those holes. And with this defense, it's all predicated on getting and disrupting stuff. You got to get up the field. Well, when you get up the field and you get, penetration, yes, penetration kills run plays, but it also opens up wider run lanes. It opens up gaps in between those the real estate in between the defensive line. So what do? You just run plays that are more conducive to get on the outside, and you just pick a hole one step and take it downhill. And that's what's going on. If you look at Bo and Logan, we're getting penetration. They were passing the offensive line back 3 or 4 yards. But the running back, Matt Jones, was so patient that he waited until he got the opportunity because the linebackers weren't filling as fast as they were. You know, they caught a lot of those defensive line also two-gapping, which you can't do in this defensive system because now you're waiting on somebody else to make the play as opposed to you going to make the play. You got to get up the field. You got to create havoc. And from that, that's where you get the big plays from. Linebackers didn't hit it downhill, so it created a lot of opportunities for the offensive line to get up on the second level and block guys. You know, guys didn't have the correct leverage points. You know, on the touchdown to Matt Jones, if you look at it, Bradham hits him with the wrong shoulder. He hit him with the outside shoulder, was able to hook him then. And if you look, he was the last man on the line of scrimmage. He was the widest guy on the line of scrimmage. He should have kept that outside shoulder open and get up the field and created the point in which, you know, they could push everything back into the teeth of the defense. Well, he didn't. He got hooked, and Matt Jones walked into the end zone. Those are just assignment errors and technique errors that this team is not good enough to make. If you're a good team, yes, you have others around you that can go in and you can make those type of errors and still recover from it. This Eagles team is not that good that they can recover from making mental errors and physical errors, and then most of all, penalty errors to bring them back in the game.
So, Barrett, problems on defense, problems on the offense. A guy just tweeted me while we're doing this interview and said, ask Barrett, is our coaching being exposed? We were out-coached yesterday. Do you agree?
Absolutely. This is 2 weeks in a row. 2 weeks in a row in which they were out-coached. You know, and I wouldn't say that about Doug. I love Doug. I think Doug's a hell of a coach. But he looked like a rookie last week. He really did. On Sunday, he really looked like a rookie. Sometimes, you know, as a coach, you can be a little arrogant and think that, you know, just your decisions. And I bought into it. I drank the Kool-Aid. When he said Big V was ready to play, I believed him. I really did believe him. I believe the fact that if he needed help, he was going to give him help. I believe that also. But, I mean, sometimes, you know, sometimes you get the bear, sometimes the bear gets you. For the first time I've seen Doug get out-coached. You know, the guys on the other side of the ball knew what to do, how to expose offense and defense, and they did it. I mean, it shows glaring issues that the Eagles were able to hide the first 3 games. You know, I mean,
well, it's an indication too that it's an indication too that, you know, as each week goes on, people learn more and more about you, and you wonder, you know, does Doug have the ability to make those adjustments? For 3 weeks, I think he deserved praise. I hate how people, when you have a reaction on something based on what you saw that week, and you bring that reaction out, and they're like, well, everybody was praising him. Well, yeah, he did well. What are we supposed to say? You stunk? He did well the first 3 weeks. Now the problem is it's a week-to-week league. You always have to make the adjustments. And the last 2 weeks, I thought he deserved praise for the first 3 weeks. I think he deserves to be being criticized these last 2 weeks. I don't think he has done a very good job. A lot of people will look at the Eagles. They were 3-0, and right. Doug had a big part of that. I thought Doug, for 3 weeks, would present it in front of you.
So that he was asked about why his game plans were having such early success. And, you know, early success is a big point of issue there, Mike Gill. In the Detroit game, they got down early. Were never really fully able to recover. In the Washington game, they got down early and were never fully able to recover. And as you and I both talked about, the Eagles defense plays better with the lead. When they have an early lead handed to them, then some of those issues and hiccups aren't as big or exposed as much.
Well, and, you know, a lot of times, again, you're going off the sample size which is presented in front of you. The 3-game sample size that you had, Doug had, performed very well. It's hard to sit here and say, well, this guy stunk. He didn't know what he was doing. When for 3 games, he looked like he did know what he was doing. But, Barrett, this is where, of course, you playing in the league really comes in here, where you learn things after 3-4 games. You start to see, 3-4 games, this team keeps doing X, Y, or Z, and you figure out these tendencies a little bit more. The question for Doug is now, can he make the adjustments?
And that's the big thing right there. Can he make the adjustments? I'm going to tell you the truth. The rookie still played okay, you know. I mean, and teams figured it out. No, that's not the way in how you defeat this offense. You don't mess with the rookie. You don't blitz him. You don't just sit back and let him throw the ball. What you do is you get the guys on the outside, you put handcuffs on them. These are the same receivers that didn't get open last year, didn't break away from covers last year, stayed covered last year. They're the same thing now. They're still the same thing. They can't separate from defenders. So what do? You double team, you beat guys up at the line of scrimmage, you make sure you alter their route, and then they're not getting open. And compounding with that, you got a rookie right tackle, you got a line that's not playing well, and then, this is the results you get. You lose games. This offensive line, when they're playing well, giving him time, he can shred anybody. But if you get a little pressure from a starting right tackle, the center gives up a little pressure, now he has to make quicker reads. These quicker reads are not conducive to receivers that can't break coverage. So when you get that, you get sacks. You get, the quarterback hit a lot. You get opportunities where you can't complete third downs. You have penalties where guys are holding like Kelce was holding. These are all things that didn't show their ugly head those first 3 games because the offensive line was playing well. Well, now that you're asking Kelce to one-on-one block because you can't help him because you have to slide the line somewhere else, you can't give him any help now. He has now blocked bigger guys by himself because you have to go and protect Big V as opposed to keeping the center off the line really stout by double teaming. You can't do that now. Pick your poison. Either help the center or to help the guy on the outside. They really will be challenged this next week to see who they think will be able to get the one-on-one blocks. Who can facilitate that? Will Kelce be able to do it? I don't know. Maybe they need to put in Wisniewski to see if he can put some solidarity in the interior off the line. That way they can go out and help Big V. Because at this point, coach has already hooked his wagon up to Big V, and he'll be starting now. He's not the type that's going to say, all right, well, I made the wrong decision. He's going to go with this guy and let him make his bumps and bruises. And I guess now it's going to be more of a learning curve as opposed to wanting to win games.
I got to ask you about the penalties. 14 last week, 13 this week, 10 the week before. I know a lot of these penalties, the referees are pretty bad, but they're happening. I don't know how you fix that because a lot of times when the team's undisciplined and has penalties, we always seem to blame the coach. You see
have to.
Okay, explain how a coach can fix that then. The Fletcher Cox one, look, here's my big issue. I get bad officiating when it's based on safety. I get it. The safety is going to cause bad calls. 5 years ago, that Cox call is not a penalty. Right? That's not a penalty 5 years ago. Your momentum is going right. Your momentum is going that way. What is Cox supposed to do? Where is he supposed to go? It's not like he's, that's where his momentum's taking him. So I get that bad call based on safety. But the other ones are just, the block in the back is awful, right?
And that is awful. Let's talk about that. When you engage a guy and you're in front of him, you're blocking him, and he turns around while you're still having contact with him, it is not a block in the back. That's one of the worst calls I've seen thus far. Smallwood had a pretty good block. He kept with the play. He's supposed to do that. If the guy turns back to him, well, that's his fault. Well, he got called. Oh, that was a terrible call. But fundamentally, this team has lost all that. They lost the fundamentals of how to tackle. I remember we talked earlier on a couple weeks ago, the reason why their coach said we were so consistent in tackling and they didn't get in the yak yardage with Antonio Brown and those guys is because they fundamentally tackled. He needs to go back to the drawing board and tackle in practice. I remember everybody was in an uproar. Oh, they're going to get hurt if they go out there and tackle. Well, you know what? Maybe they need to get hurt. They need to go out there and do fundamentals and stop tackling that donut and tackle each other so they get a sense on how to follow through. Stop hitting and not wrapping. Stop hitting and not driving your feet through. That's what's going on. Guys are trying to hit, stopping their feet, trying to knock a guy down. Those guys on the other side of the ball get paid too. You get probably paid handsomely. So to think that they're going to just be hit, you just hit them and not run through them and not wrap up, come on now. That's basic fundamental football. Even on the offensive side of the ball, making sure that you drive guys into the ground. Make sure you're driving guys with your feet, keeping your feet going. Those are all fundamental things that you learn in practice, that you execute in practice. So coaches have to go back to the fundamentals of tackling, the fundamentals of blocking, the fundamentals of getting open on one-on-one blocks, going through your progression and, as a rookie quarterback and understanding who you're throwing to. If you got a big receiver, throw it up high so he can go get it. When you have a guy like Zach Ertz running free, put the ball on him as opposed to making him jump higher than where he's supposed to be jumping up so he can finish the play for a touchdown. Those are all things that come with practicing hard,
practicing and understanding that it'll equate to the game.
Eagles have been called for a penalty on 13% of their plays this year. That's pretty bad. Jason Kelce, by the way, 6 penalties. He leads the Eagles. He's been called for holding 4 times, and he leads the league, and he's played 1 less game than most teams. Kelce really struggling out there. Barrett Brooks has Barrett's Breakdown every Monday after every Eagles game, and you can see him tomorrow morning on Breakfast on Broad, 7 a.m. Go take a nap, pal.
Good
All right,
stuff,
guys.
Barrett.
Thanks a lot.